Good morning, how are you?
How are you?
We're getting ready to start. When you have a chance, can you have a cup of hot water? Thank you so much. Avishu minnak.
How's David doing, bro?
My son? Baruch Hashem, very good.
Shabbat shalom, when he says.
Simcha rabba. Simcha rabba.
לא תהיה רגע. So hot.
Thank you, you're very. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. Good morning, Kahal Kadosh, Beruchim Abayim to everybody. Today, the 18th day of Tammuz, corresponding to the 28th day of June 2021. We dedicate the class for the recovery, for the healing, for the closure of the unfortunate tragedy in Surfside, Florida, that I was able to be there physically. And we know what we say many times, La dame tahazeh leta shema. Seeing is believing. It's not the same that you hear about it than when you see it. So I'll tell you first my early experience. Midday, we went, many people from the community, to the Sky Lake Synagogue. And you see an operation, mega operation, people from all walks of life coming, packing, repacking, sorting Sky Lake Synagogue. And you see an operation, mega operation, people from all walks of life coming, packing, repacking, sorting, separating, loading into the trucks all kinds of items, garments, clothing, new obviously, toiletries, food packages, snacks, and whatever you can imagine, in order to make the life of those that were no longer living in their respective homes. As we know, not only the casualty of the south, I think, or the east part of the building that fell, but you also have the west part that everybody was evicted. That's how it was. So you're dealing with a lot of people, a lot of families. There were many miracles. There were many miracles. I'll tell you one of them, about a family who rented the apartment long term from Brooklyn to spend a few weeks of the summer here, not one night, but maybe a month or two. And when they came to the apartment, the tenant did not leave. And the tenant says, I'm decided to stay one more day. I called the landlord and I left him a message. So this person that came from the airport with his wife and kids said, it's not fair. I pay for the rental. I need to stay. I need to come in. It's not fair. But the person says, sir, I told the landlord that what?
You don't hashash me, okay? Okay. You don't hashash anybody. Oh, no Jew hashash me.
I apologize to the iTorah audience.
Shut up.
I'm sorry.
No, sorry.
Okay, we are recording live. We are recording live.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you. We accept the apologies. Let's continue. So this fellow calls the landlord, and the landlord says, Mehila, he left me a message earlier, but I just heard it. So you know what? Go to a hotel. I'll pay you the hotel for Thursday, for Wednesday night to Thursday. His life was saved. He went back to Brooklyn. Yesterday, he made a Sa'udat Hoda'ah. He made a Sa'udat Hoda'ah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in order to express his gratitude for the miracle that the tenant did not leave. That was one. Another one.
And the people moved in?
No, he Khalas, he went back.
The new people.
They moved everybody.
Ah.
Nobody's there now. Another miracle. A lady went to a Fabrengen. You know what that is? Okay, for those who don't know, a Fabrengen means a Hasidic gathering. They sing and they say words of Torah. And because it was a Hasidic date last week, I think Yud Gimel Tammuz, and this lady came back from this shiur, and she came back with her two daughters, and they walked into the apartment, and they already felt that something is going on. And Baruch Hashem, in 10 minutes, she was able to come down. As they are coming down, they see an 80-something-year-old person, and the person having difficulties moving and coming down the staircase. Once everybody realized what was going on. So the person said, don't worry about me. I live a long life. I live a good life. I'm willing to give my life. So they said to her, unacceptable. Unacceptable. If we happen to be here with you, we're going to help you and we're going to come down together. It wasn't easy, but thank God they were able to make it to the ground floor and they were saved. There were many miracles. There were many miracles that as the days are going by, we are able to hear them, but also to verify that this indeed happened. So I told you about the Sky Lake Synagogue major operation. There were hundreds of volunteers, men, women, and children from all over. And I saw a guy with a U-Haul truck, and he came and he had bags of Target. He went to Target on a shopping spree. On a shopping spree. He bought toiletries, garments, you pick up 6 of each. 6 of each, 6 of each, 6 of each. A few people got together, and Baruch Hashem, and I saw mamash people bringing whatever it was, water, Gatorade, diapers, Pampers, toiletries, whatever you can imagine. You saw the operation in the shul. Each corner of the shul by bundles. One corner for garments, one corner for toiletries, one corner for toys, for children. So Baruch Hashem, I got an email today that they don't need at this moment garments. They do need snacks, drinks, phone wires, cell phones, even used cell phones, wires, all types. If it's Samsung, meaning Android chargers, right? Android or Apple, whatever they need. And then I went to the site. Obviously, it wasn't easy access. Thank God to the Hatzalah supervisor who took me by the hand. And we were able to see the group that arrived from Israel and from Mexico as well, together with Miami-Dade Fire Rescue. And just a shout out to all the first responders, especially for Hatzalah of South Florida. I spoke to one of the responders and I asked him, how long are you here? So one fellow told me, I got here Shabbat, 6 o'clock in the morning. And when did they see him yesterday? At Sunday, 5 o'clock, with a tremendous amount of heat. So do the numbers. How many hours is that? 36 hours non-stop. Some of them were there from Thursday, 1 o'clock in the morning, or the 2 o'clock when the first call came in, till Erev Shabbat. And there is a rotating system of constantly having 25 to 30 responders. So I tell you a couple of miracles that did happen. When the fire rescue came and evicted by law, which they had to do, all the tenants in the front part of the building, when you live in such an emergency situation or in a rush, for example, you ever fly by the airplane and they tell you an evacuation, leave all your belongings behind. So in that building, there were a lot of senior citizens, and senior citizens respectfully to all of our senior citizens, they have to take perhaps some medicines. Some medicines out of diabetes, heart, whatever it could be. So now what do? You're in a rush, you have seconds. You have to understand that the difference between life and the opposite of life is seconds. It's not, come back in 15 minutes. It's not an Uber driver. You gotta run and every second counts. There was a child who refused to leave the apartment. Wow. Why? Because she was wearing pajamas and a nightgown. And she says, how can I go to the street on a nightgown? You know, seniot, right, seniot. So the mother says, don't worry, stay with the nightgown. I'm gonna give you a robe so you can come down with a robe. You know, look at the sensitivity of people. So the Hatzalah, as you know, besides having dispatchers and EMTs and paramedics, also Hatzalah has 2 additional boards on top of Hatzalah on the field. One is called the Rabbinical Board that deals with rabbinical halachic matters, approval of candidates, etc., and halachic questions, Shabbat, Yom Tov, etc. But then there is the medical directors. So all the medical directors involved with Hatzalah, they interview each and every person that require prescriptions to understand the medical condition, to prescribe medicines, and public supermarket basically gave the prescription and returned the prescriptions refills in a record-breaking time. Don't ask me in how many minutes, but it wasn't overnight. It was literally one after the other, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. So I spoke to some of the coordinators of Hatzalah South Florida, and they were explaining that at this moment, what they are giving, this was the initial stage of the response, because even for first responders, which is come to the next part of the statement, it's not easy, because they explain that the way that everything happened and the way the building fell, you know, for the first hour and a half that I was there, I was by the border where the press was. Then a police officer very nicely allowed me to go to the memorial site. The memorial is on Harding Avenue, where you have the wall with all the pictures, and you have people coming and lighting candles and reading Tehillim, etc. And then Hatzalah took me by the hand to the corner of where the site was. What you see from the news is a sample, but when you're literally half a block from it, an open space, because there's nothing that blocks your view. In other words, I was here and the destruction was there. So you see how cautiously are every one of these trained rescuers are walking. They're not running, they're not assembling too many on one spot, and very cautiously they are literally lifting one piece at a time. Sometimes by hand, sometimes by machinery. You know, yesterday they recovered 4 bodies. 2 Yehudim and 2 Yehudim from Venezuela and 2 Gentiles, I don't know from where. And the way they were able to do it is because underneath the rubble there is some places that there is a gap. You know, sometimes the concrete falls in an angle. So underneath that, they open a passageway, I think 130 some feet long, and walking very cautiously, because you have 2 issues. Because there is another group besides Hatzalah that is called the CSE, Hesed Shelemet. What this group do? They deal only with human remains. Hatzalah deals with the living, and CSE, Hesed Shelemet, deals with those which are no longer alive. And by Jewish law, human remains need to be identified and need to be buried according to Jewish law. And depends on the condition if you do a tahara or not. Also, people missing. Okay? So how do they know who the person is? Who they inform when they find, God forbid, body parts? So those that came, there are people who flew in from Deal, New Jersey, West Deal Synagogue, with the rabbi that is here. They came to the Grand Beach Hotel, which is the headquarters for DNA sampling. So all the relatives, they come there, they have to take a DNA sample, they have to do the lab work, and keep it on file to match when they find, God forbid, remains, who do they notify? Why? Because halachically, from a halakha perspective, there is no shiv'ah until you have buried. Proof. Obviously, the proof comes with the burial. You cannot say, oh no, by this time is already 4 days, so most likely nobody is surviving. Maybe in theory you are right, but Israel, which they came in, and one of the directors was so impressed. It says when they came in, they left Mosai Shabbat from Israel time. They arrived to Miami yesterday. So the first thing says, okay, let me take you to the hotel, freshen up, take an hour or two nap, then we'll take you to the site. And the Israeli commander says, sir, we did not come here to sleep in the hotel. We go straight to the site. Unbelievable, Kiddush Hashem. How exhausted do we feel when we come from an Israel trip? It takes us a week to recover because of the jet lag, 7 hours difference, an hour a day, your body needs to readjust. And they went straight to the site and they were working non-stop. I saw them. And each nationality carries a different color helmet. One color for Israel, one color for Americans, and one color for Mexico. Why Mexico? Because Mexico has, unfortunately, like we have hurricanes, in Mexico they have earthquakes. And a lot of the matters that happen here, although it's not an earthquake because South Florida doesn't have, California has, but nevertheless, there were a lot of similarities. So the effort invested, and the Israeli director said that what the Miami-Dade Fire Rescue Search and Rescue Team were doing was exactly the same protocol. So that was a great, everybody's on the same page. So Hesed Shelemet, as I said before, deals with the remains and afterlife. So they also have another department, very sensitive in a good way to the Jewish people, is the medical examiner. For those who know, you know what medical examiner means. God forbid, a dead body is brought down to the medical examiner. I myself personally have been involved in many cases. God forbid, especially in cases which are not natural causes, or a person who does not have a medical history in the United States. I remember a few years back, I was called down the block, a visitor from South America that came, was okay, God forbid, passed away in his hotel room. The police was called. No foul play. No foul play. But they need to know. Maybe poisoning, maybe something, drugs, overdose. So since the family didn't speak Spanish, didn't speak English, I was called to step up to the plate. Rabbi, please come. So I spoke to the police officer, very respectful, and thank God the medical examiner also has a great relationship with Hatzalah and Hesed Shelemet and the Jewish community, and they are very sensitive in not rushing to perform an autopsy. First they do a physical visual inspection of the body to see if there was any kind of struggle, any kind of markings, etc. Then they do a blood test, and a blood test today is able to determine a lot of things, especially etc. And the physical autopsy, it's hardly done based on the request of the Jewish community, unless we were told after the fact. but they were very sensitive, and they understood that they were coming into the city of Surfside, which has 50-50 population, Yehudim and Gentiles. So we say also thank you to them for the fact that they are so accommodating to observe the Jewish rituals and the Jewish ways of life. So going back to this case that I was involved, so the officer says, but Rabbi, you know, he's a tourist, he's never seen in America by a doctor, so I cannot just release the body to the Jewish Burial Society. So he says, hold on, let me speak to the wife. What do you want me to ask her? Because the family was taken out of the room, because if God forbid there was foul play, the police needed to make that room now into a crime scene. And he told me, we'll let you come in, but don't touch anything. Don't look, don't open the drawer, don't be a nice guy. You understand? Like you see in the movies.
Fingerprints.
Right, fingerprints, the whole heke. So I walked in like a soldier, my hands next to my body, behemoth. It happened right there, in the Marco Polo Hotel. Sure. Was a visitor from Argentina who rented the condominium for a month. So I said, okay, what do you want me to find out? Speak to the wife, he says. She was outside waiting with another police officer, because if God forbid they suspect foul play, guess what? She will not be running away. Baruch Hashem, we give everybody peace of mind. Nothing happened, but a miracle did happen. What was the miracle? So he says, speak to the wife as you can. She saw me, Sephardic, Spanish, from Argentina, so she opened up. And she told me, Rabbi, my husband had a heart condition. My husband had a mini stroke. I said, but do you have any proof? He says, no, I'm visiting Miami. I only have the pills from Argentina. He says, the only thing that we can have a happy ending today is call the doctor in Argentina, have him send now. I don't care what the doctor is. His secretary fax the documents to the hotel lobby downstairs, and we're going to bring it to the police officer. Miracle of miracles, in less than an hour, we had 20-some pages of medical reports. That is impossible to do it, you know, by hand.
Too fancy.
Too fast
yeah.
for a hand. Literally with dates, the doctor's signature after each record, the prescriptions, and it was a mega miracle. The officer, when he saw this, he saw this, he says, Rabbi, thank you. You have my commitment that no autopsy will be done to him, but because he did not pass away in a nursing home or in a hospital, and he's not a United States citizen or a resident of the state of Florida, the remains must go to medical examiner. That's protocol. You cannot break that rule. You cannot break it. You gotta follow. You gotta follow. In other words, it's like you want to do a bar mitzvah in the synagogue from one day to the other. No, you have to reserve the day. You have to fill up the application. Hamavdil. I'm trying to make it lighter than this way. And Baruch Hashem, in 12 hours, out and sent to Argentina for proper Jewish burial. So these are things that do happen, but definitely this unfortunate tragedy will bring up two halachic challenges. One is obvious, Shiv'ah. It happened in 9/11, by the way. In 9/11, besides everything, right, the tragedy, obviously, you had Agunot and Shiv'ah. Aguna means a wife that the husband is missing. So,
or he doesn't give her the get.
All right, doesn't give her the get, the way it's very popular today in America and in Israel. But hopefully things are going to change very soon.
Hopefully.
Be'ezat Hashem, Be'ezat Hashem.
Makot.
No, I hope we don't have to.
In the old time,
that's what the Rambam says.
Yeah.
Makinoto, Ache Yomar, Rotseyani. They used to beat up the guy who refused to give a get. But Be'ezrat Hashem.
Ezra.
But these are the two halachot coming up now. If these people can start Shiva, halachically there is no Shiva yet.
Yeah.
Unless you have some type of proof, unless you are able to have some type of like for example, when one of the twin towers started to fall, a few minutes before the airplane hit, somebody made a phone call from his station, and the great miracle was that the main frame of the phone system was remote in another state. So they printed out the report of the usage of that phone line, when that morning, and when was the last time, and when was the airplane that hit that tower. So they make all the calculations, if the person will have been able to escape, and besides the fact of time, the fact that he was on the upper part of the tower, once the plane hit in the middle, then automatically you know that there were two ways of escaping: jumping from a window that guaranteed not making it, or going down the staircase. But if the plane hit literally a minute after you hang up the phone, so automatically you didn't make it. That was one of the formulas that the great Hachamim utilized in order to start closing cases. Because aguna, okay, like you said before, a wife that doesn't have the husband get, in a case like this type of tragedy, who knows how long she could. I believe that they even found DNA after 2 or 3 or 5 years after 9/11. Why much later? Even recently, because technology becomes more sophisticated, and what 20 years ago didn't exist, today it's easy. So they were able to the rubble and samples of items that they kept, they were able to handpick and to find some DNA's matters. So definitely this unfortunate tragedy, not far from here, and if you need to go to that area, be ready for traffic, because the main streets are closed. Stores in Harding Avenue will be closed at least for a month, and there is a government grant,
No food.
a government right, no restaurants, no supermarkets, be receiving a government grant based on previous sales and action, because the streets are completely shut down. Even the buildings adjacent to this tower also were completely evacuated, because it's a war zone. You see fire trucks, police trucks, fire rescue, FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, and many other governmental agencies are there. There is a wing of the traumatic unit, because you have to understand, a lot of people, which is normal and is expected, God forbid, are affected by this tragedy at all levels: physical, emotional, financial. Without having a roof over the head, you feel like bouncing from place to place. So I believe that everyone is doing whatever is able to do, and I'm sure, of course. But again, you live in a hotel without
Not
garments.
the same way. Like
Right, obviously, okay. In a hotel, Baruch Hashem, there is a fellow down the block, right across the street in Sonny Isles, that offer his home for free for 2 months. A person, apparently very wealthy, he happens to have a nice mansion with 7 or 10 bedrooms. So he invited people to stay. Obviously, it's going to be coordinated for many halachic and for many different reasons, but it's a very kind gesture that people are stepping up to the plate and going above and beyond the normal way of giving. And I'm sure that we have a lot of questions, and I'm sure that we have a lot of answers, that we do not have, rather, have a lot of answers. But one thing is for sure, that based on the statement that came all the way
Yeah.
from the great Hachamim. Because I picked up the phone and started to say to them, Rabotai, we're reading Tehillim, we're giving charity, we're giving toiletries,
Why?
we're giving garments. The why, nobody is able to tell us.
You can.
Nobody can tell us. But what can we do? It's a given formula. It says on the Gemara writes, Hapeshe asar, hapeshe hitir. The same mouth that
Okay.
forbids is
Forbidden.
the same mouth that allows. What is the meaning of this statement? That in our tradition tells us that from the same problem, the
can-
solution
Isn't it?
needs to come. Let's say somebody, simple example, wants to do teshuvah, that he wasn't wearing tefillin.
Yeah.
Okay? So how do you do teshuvah for not wearing tefillin?
You
You
want-
start wearing tefillin.
That-
That's simple. Kasher, start eating kasher. Berachot, start saying berachot. So what do you do in a case like this? So what kind of reaction these cases brings upon us? Unity. Unity. Giving. Offering. You know, there are people who come there every day, somebody told me. They come to pray. They come to pray. Very nice. All prayers. You know, I was standing in the memorial place yesterday, and more than one person told me, I'm very sorry for your loss. I'm very sorry for your loss. And it's true. We all lost someone.
Yeah.
May not be related,
Yeah.
but the way that these people,
Yeah.
God forbid, are missing, and I'm trying to be cautious of not saying they're gone, because hope
But
is the last thing
it's-
that we
yeah.
lose. But we do understand that as the hours are going by,
the hope
the
is diminishing.
chances of survival, unfortunately, are decreasing. Yesterday or today, earlier, they found four more remains, I think. I said this before. Two Yehudim, two Gentiles, and we know who the Yehudim were. We have names,
They
pictures.
know what's the cause.
Huh?
They know what's the cause.
I tell you one thing, some remains were found with a lot of dust. So you have to understand, dust covers the body, right?
Yeah.
Asphyxiation. The
No,
person cannot
the
breathe.
cause of the building.
No,
to-
you're asking the $9.8 million question.
No.
That's the
No.
invoice they receive
No, but
to correct the building, by the way.
they can go back to the plan and to the foundation. They have the plan in the
True,
city.
but the plans to be 40 years ago,
Yeah.
the plans were fine. But the problem was that's what they say.
Yeah.
That 3 years ago, getting close to the 40-year inspection,
Yeah.
which is a mandatory requirement in all America,
Oh, yeah.
they received a DNA report
Of the building.
of the building. And the DNA report came with a lot of comments. Right, problematic. The cost of the repair was $9.8 million to bring it current and safe.
I'll say.
That was 2 to 3 years ago. So you have to understand how condominium thinks. 9.8 on every unit.
Oh, yeah.
And I made the calculation yesterday, by the
How
way.
many units?
136 units.
800.
Basically, 9 point, we're talking about 70,000 per unit.
Yeah.
Divided in 5 years, $1,200 a month.
Yeah.
Half of the people are retired.
Interest and
Interest
all
and
the,
all the whole thing. Guess what? They figure, we're going to slow down.
but-
Some issues that
Yeah.
they were found, that the
Yeah.
pitch was not done on a pitch. So when it was heavy rains or leak from the pool,
Yeah.
that the waterproof failed,
Yeah.
already the water accumulated.
the water was.
Accumulated.
Oh.
So again, God forbid, we're not pointing fingers, but
No.
we're telling you that they
No.
found
But
some
the
some
Rabbi,
issues there.
reasonable question. They made the inspection, and they look. This is common. Everybody, 40 years, they make an inspection. But this inspection, one copy go to the city. the city is
Bottom line, I'll tell you the following. It's not the time to point fingers
no,
now.
not pointing, but we
But
want to know
I'm sure that something will be happening. Because
Yeah.
this is something that, on the other hand, this tragedy is preventing more,
More,
God forbid.
yes.
I don't want to say the word.
The law is gonna change.
Now the law, I
Yes,
said this
gonna
yesterday in
change.
the class, for those that I see here from Florida. Remember Hurricane Andrew, 1992?
Yeah.
All of Kendall, all of South Miami became hafish, became harassed.
Wow.
Why?
Because-
Because the building code back then for the roofs
The code
was
was-
very, okay, relax. After that, make it more mahmir. The same thing is happening now. All the buildings that are reaching that 40-year mark, they're gonna have a heavier code of halakha
And
because you're
deep.
dealing with people's life. So even from the tragedy, something positive comes out. Obviously, we don't minimize the tragedy, the casualties, all the side effects that a tragedy of this magnitude. You know, people are saying, forget about it, don't buy no more condominiums, move only to houses. You're gonna have I know, for the real estate business, you know, the first question somebody asked me, Rabbi, how old is the building there? I said, don't worry, it's 39. Not 40, okay. No, but these are the questions that Behemet, these are the questions
No, this is not.
that people are asking.
People going to closing with $4 million
Apartment.
Apartment,
You think
condos.
they're going to go to the closing? They're going to hold off.
Of course. So there is a domino effect.
Now,
There is a
A lot of problems.
Behemet, it happened in a high-end condominium
Yeah.
not long ago. I'm not going to say the name, not to affect the sales. Okay?
It's gonna go.
No. The people are thinking exactly what he
Yeah,
said.
Yeah.
Exactly what he said, especially those built on the water, on the sand, and yet it's again, Rabotai. Obviously, the shiur turned into a
No, but
report.
It's good to know.
Of course,
And to exchange the idea.
Right,
Very
100%,
important.
100%. But I'd like to finish with what Hacham David Yosef said yesterday in a shiur. And he said as follows: there is no mikre, meaning to say, there is no
Happening like
happening, it just okay. For the Miami Herald, you can find all the intellectual justifications. But he said something that we discussed in the past. Mikre, which means coincidence, are the same letters of Rak Mehashem. It's a godly decree. We don't understand why. We don't understand. Like we don't understand the Holocaust. We don't understand the Inquisition. We don't understand the Cossacks. We don't understand communism. We don't understand 9/11. We don't understand a lot of things. Although in every one of these scenarios, we can point the finger to someone in a physical way
Why communism?
because they went against the people.
Yeah, but we understand it perfectly.
No, you understand, but why did it happen? We
I
understand.
tell you why.
We understand
Yeah.
the mindset, the goal. But why
yeah.
did Hashem allow it to happen?
Yeah.
That if you want to do a mitzvah, they give you a one-way
Yeah.
ticket to Siberia.
This-
That's what I'm saying.
This is-
Rak meHashem.
We have no
It says we
control.
don't understand.
Yeah.
Hanistarot laHashem Elokeinu. So what do? So one of the things the great Hacham mentioned in yesterday's class was Ben Adam laHavero. It says people are killing each other. People kill each other, not physically,
Mentally,
monetarily, mentally, emotionally, genevat da'at, cheating in business, looking at a person with the wrong set of eyes. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And belittling people or cursing, Lashon Hara, excellent example. Lashon Hara, Rechilut. Today Lashon Hara, as we know, you don't have to write it. You can text it. You can post it. You can write it. You can do a lot of things with Lashon Hara. Rabbi, that all these tragedies, Meron, Carlin, even this one, what does it do? It activates unity and harmony
Shake-up.
among the people. It's a shake-up. It's a shake-up. But the shake-up cannot be limited to, I feel bad for them, let me deliver 2 toothbrushes, 2 mouthwash, and 2 toothpaste, and 4 deodorants. That's that's toiletries, by the way. That's good to do that. But it says the change must come from within the people. And where do you start? In your home.
Yeah.
And then becomes
Ask
like a
yourself.
domino effect. Your home first, marital, husband and wife, wife and husband, then your close relatives, then your extended family, then your friends, and then it becomes like a domino effect. If every one of us works even on one,
It's not working.
okay, we have to try.
try.
We don't throw in the towel.
No.
You throw in the towel only in
We
boxing.
don't throw, but
Chas v'shalom, it's
but
difficult.
It's not difficult. It's not happening.
Okay, but
They go to prayer. They make song, and this. Heidi.
Okay, so I like to be. I respect your.
Heidi
Yeah,
They go outside.
I respect
everything.
I respect your opinion, but I need to think more positive. The people
of course.
are gonna wake up and
As
smell the
Jews,
coffee
as Jews, we don't
because
throw the towel.
we're not getting better.
Yeah, exactly.
How many times God is gonna call us?
Yeah.
How many times? I forgot the Italy cable car.
Yeah.
Remember that fell? There was casualties from Israel. Not a few weeks ago, right? Okay, in Italy, right? So, and anti-Semitism on top of that is popping up everywhere, especially through social media.
We are doing something that is initiating this.
Of course.
We are doing something
We're not united.
that is not right.
We're not united. That's the message we're getting from the Chachamim. We're not united. If you don't do what I do, you're wrong.
No.
Okay, but that's the mentality
Yeah.
that some people have.
Yeah.
If you don't agree with my tradition, you're not doing it right.
For me,
It's like somebody.
your liberty, for me, democracy is your liberty stop when the liberty of other person start. You don't step on people.
Right. But anyways, we apologize to iTorah.com for starting the class late and for a couple of hiccups that we had today in the live transmission. But we started the class late because the minyan changed the time. So perhaps we may make an adjustment to iTorah to start a few minutes later. So far we keep on the same time. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we should have Besurot Tovot. Have a great day, everybody. Shabbat Tov Mevorach.
Just to let you know something, but the Mexican people that came
Yes.
to help,
Yes.
they say